people of the internet. Ian Altosaar, the Freedom Astrologer, once again here with another dose of daily freedom for you and into your lives. And in this video, I'm going to talk about hard transits. And yes, this video was kind of motivated, or the motivation behind this video from my end was because I experienced a lot of them all at once. And I wanted to kind of share what it's like to experience harder transits in real life, in real kind of environment, material life. What happens internally for us, what happens externally outside of ourselves, and what are some of the, let's say, physical manifestations that can happen. Now, I brought here a chart that is somewhat similar to my own personal natal chart, but there are a lot of differences as well. But I think this chart really illustrates, especially for some of you, what is happening, especially if you have something in fixed signs, like Leo, like we have here. In this chart, we have Sun and Mercury in the sign of Leo. And the culprit, or the one who's bringing the difficulty in here, is the Saturn. So hopefully, now my mouse is working here. So the Sun is here in the sign of Leo, which is a fixed sign, and Saturn is in the opposite sign, in the sign of Aquarius. This means there's a hard aspect. It means that there's an opposition going on with or between the Sun and Saturn. Now, other fixed signs also that can be feeling the hardship of Saturn include also Scorpio and Taurus, but also we can say that Aquariuses feel that the kind of more difficult side of Saturn at times as well, especially if you have ascendant Sun or Moon there. Saturn can, really make it harder for you. So let's say, this video applies to a lot of people who have experienced hard and difficult Saturn transits, but in this case I'm going to explain it through the fixed signs. So most of you who are going to relate to this are the ones who have ascendant Sun or Moon in fixed signs. We can also talk about, obviously, Venus, Mars, Mercury in fixed signs, maybe even Jupiter a little bit. And those of you who have those will have it, or will feel the Saturn transit stronger and have felt it already. And for some of you, it's still coming up. And let's move into it. Whenever there's an opposition with Saturn, let's start with Saturn and the Sun, for example, because Saturn and Sun, hard aspect, in this case opposition, this really dampens one's creative ability and life force as well, because the Sun is the life force. And very often this can bring, because Saturn can bring illness as well. In my case, this was true. And first and foremost, I got really ill because I had to take antibiotics because of a surgery I had to get for my teeth. And then that kind of weakened my immune system, and Saturn actually then brought even the most famous of the viruses right now that we have going on. And I experienced that as well. So these are some of the kind of physical manifestations when you have Saturn opposite the Sun. So again, when it's in a hard aspect, Saturn to the Sun, it can drain the life force of the person. So literally, it doesn't have to be illness, but it can just mean that you're tired, you have too much work to do, you have too many duties, you have too many responsibilities that you have to make in life. And sometimes even it can mean that because Saturn brings in limitations and restrictions, so it does at times mean that you can't work for a period of time when the opposition is the most exact. Usually I use For the precision, for the sake of precision, coming in, I use 2 degrees, 4 degrees at times with some planets. With the moon, I even use more. But 4 is plenty. And when it starts to separate from the aspect, then you can usually it starts to give in, or the influence gets lighter when it's out of the same degree. Let's say there's already 2 degrees apart, 1 degree apart between the aspect and the planets. So that's where when it starts to get easier. And right now you can probably hear from my voice that I still have something going on in my kind of like lungs and in my nose and everywhere. So there's stuff still going on, but Saturn is starting to leave my personal sun alone, and life force is returning. So again, this is why I'm here. I want to create. I want to work. Sun is the creative flow that we really want to put out into the world, and actually the work we do as well. In a lot of ways, the sun represents. So life force, first and foremost, with the Sun Saturn opposition, and feeling like you're tired, not having energy to do it, or having a lot of duties, responsibilities there. And remember, guys, this is also important. Whatever house and the sign that Saturn, or the difficult, that the malefic, that kind of the yeah, let's keep it that the malefic planet comes from. This is usually where some of the difficulties might come from. So in this case, in this chart, this is in the sign of Aquarius, which is all about dreams and material goals and social goals and what we want to kind of achieve in society. And the house of children, 5th house, the house of romantic partners, the house of having fun. So it is, and also the 5th house is the natural house of having fun. So and the natural house of the sun. So you can imagine that whenever Saturn goes into the 5th house, kind of like dampens the fun, dampens let's say even like the fun side of creation and fun side of putting your creation out there. And duties with children, duties with your romantic partners. Maybe they are having a bit of a difficult time. Maybe you need to support them more. Maybe you need to support your child. Maybe you need to discipline your child. You need to put, in any case, you need to put any more efforts into your child, your romantic partner. And also 5th house is your creative things that you're putting out there. And very often you need to work harder on any type of business projects, creative projects. And at times there are going to be limitations to what you can do. Again, Saturn limits the time and effort you can put in there at times. So it's kind of like a mixed bag of I need to work on these things and these matters, and I need to put effort into them. But there are also all sorts of other duties. Yeah, health can be, the energy can be low, especially when we're considering the sun as well. So all of these things come into one kind of batch where you can see that these things coming into your space are really hard to handle at times, and very often you can break down physically, even energy wise. There's not enough energy, and need to be sick for a while. And then when Saturn starts to leave that sun alone, which is soon already happening for me personally. And guys, I'm going to say the degrees as well. So if you have anything in fixed signs, especially around right now, around like 9 to 15 degrees, you're going to feel the hardest. But Saturn is going to even annoy some of you who have things in later degrees of fixed signs. So we're going to talk about that soon as well. Now, very often during these difficult transits, these are a couple of things that I've understood during going through different kinds of harder transits. And when there's a lot of stuff happening. And I want to bring your attention also to Uranus, because now Uranus is also giving the fixed signs a bit of a hard time. So if you have anything in Leo, if you have anything in Aquarius, it's squaring. Actually, it's squaring your sun, it's squaring your Mercury, it's squaring your ascendant moon. If you have anything in Scorpio, again, Uranus is going to be opposing. Again, a difficult aspect. So it's going to make your life a little bit more uncomfortable. It's going to bring out those rash reactions. But let's, for the sake of simplicity, let's focus on right now the Leo Sun and afterwards Mercury and Uranus. Now, whenever Uranus gives a hard aspect to the Sun, it is a bit of a, I want liberation in my work, in my career life, and I feel bogged down, especially right now when we're having, Saturn as well. So I feel a lot of responsibilities, a lot of duties. It's difficult to handle. There's so much you have to do all at once. And now Uranus from the other, area gives the indication of I need to feel free. Uranus is a rebellious energy. I want to feel free. I want to be my own boss. I want to be independent, especially right now, guys, if it's squaring your sun, because sun, again, is all about work and business and career. And, not only that, it's also about creating as well. So creation, everything that you want to create in the material world. So whenever Uranus gives it a hard aspect, it's like I feel closed down. I feel that I'm limited in this, and I want to start expanding. I want to be free. I want to be liberated. I want to be independent in my creative life. But there's something, especially when there's a hard aspect like square opposition, there's a feeling of I can't do it, or maybe there's something going on in your life in general, with resources, with monetary, physical resources, that is kind of limiting that ability to feel free or to even be free in your life. So it can manifest in a lot of ways, but very often when I see this square opposition to the sun, person really wants to break free from kind of like the status quo in their creating working lives. Maybe they're working for somebody else, maybe they're working for a company. Now they want to start breaking free from it. They want to start their own business. They're kind of like rebellious energy against their bosses and even male figures in life. Sometimes it can be the father as well, wanting to break free from these people. And very often it can manifest as like, I'm going to almost like quit my job, just on the spot. There's so much of that I want to be free, I want to be liberated energy, that sometimes it can go overboard, and literally the person can even quit their job and like change their career totally, and change something very much in their working lives. And this is how Uranus kind of in a hard aspect really starts to impose its will, and it can be really annoying, especially if you're working for somebody else. So it can literally make your life a tad uncomfortable there. Now, let's go into also, maybe some of the deeper things happening inside of you internally. So whenever there's so much, like we have two very hard aspects all at once, like focused in on this person. And if you have that fixed energy in your chart, it's happening right now to you, maybe tad differently here and there because of the houses, but still there's a lot there that influences you. And when it's all happening all at once, all of those deeper things of like, oh, I can't have fun anymore. It's very hard for me to have fun. I can't be free in my life. all of these kind of, painful, difficult thoughts come up to the surface as well, to be handled, to be lived through, to be kind of grounded. Basically, you need to go through them. And whenever Saturn is opposite or square the sun, very much the confidence gets hurt. So the transit is coming in, and maybe there's still a trine or something going on. So there's a quiet confidence. Maybe there's other planets helping, but now Saturn is alone opposite the sun, and the sun is a lot about the confidence of the person, and it can even drag it down. Remember, I talked about life force, but also about the confidence of the person. So whenever it's so deeply bogged down, the sun, it's very hard to find that internal confidence to even achieve anything, to complete something, to make anything happen during during these transits. And this is the next part. I think it's one of the most important parts that I'm going to say to you. Whenever there's so much going on and the confidence is down, so it's really easy to kind of start even like stop creating, stop making, because in your mind and in your belief, it's like, oh, I can't really achieve anything. I can't really do anything. I can't, whatever I do, whatever I create, whatever I make, it doesn't amount to anything. This is one of the biggest, and this also, guys, applies to when you have Saturn opposite the sun natally or square natally. Again, the everything I talk here about, when you have it natally in the chart, it also applies to you. So it's just more of a deeper ongoing process. Whenever there's a transit going on, it's it lasts during the transit. Then another transit comes in and gets easier. But when it's in the natal chart, literally, it lasts for a lifetime. You have to get really good at navigating these matters. Now, the difficulty here is wanting to stop and wanting to not do whatever it is that you're currently doing, whatever the projects are. It seems like they're failing and they're not working, and some need to fall by the wayside. Some are not good for you, but some of these really important ones, you're going to want to quit as well and not do them. But it's important to still continue. And remember, Saturn in hard aspect, you need to do little bits and pieces here and there. Continue working, continue making things, however hard it is. Yes, take breaks and stuff like that. But have to continue, have to push through, have to put in material, practical efforts. So if it's some kind of task you have to do it every day. Do it by little every day. Very, very small efforts, but it's continuous efforts. When you have Saturn opposites or square, you're not going to have a lot of energy, life force anyway. So you need to do kind of dissect and divide these actions during the day. Now, when we're and again, when we continue to do this, remember each opposition, each square, they turn into a trine, they turn into a sextile. These are easier aspects, and these efforts that we actually have been putting in during the difficult times, they will start to gradually give results once we start hitting the actual easier transits. Remember this, guys. This is really, really important. And now, guys, let's go into the Mercury side of things. Because some of you are going to experience Saturn opposite square Mercury quite soon. Some of you already have experienced this. And I've actually personally have already experienced this. And we go through these difficult aspects during our lifetimes, many times. But the way we go through them, the level of consciousness we go through them with is different. And this time I was very observant, very vigilant. So this helps me to make observations, understand what these aspects are more deeply about. Now, this is what I mean by, you might go through a Saturn opposite or square Mercury during when you're like 7 or 14 or something like that. So it's going to be totally different when you go through it in your 30s or in your 40s or 50s. And let's go into it. In this example, you can see that Mercury is on 21 degrees. So this means if you're watching this during 2022, you're going to experience it during summer, depending on where your Mercury is as well, what degree your Mercury is. So right now Saturn, it's the 20th of January 2022. Right now Saturn is around 11-12 degrees of Aquarius, and soon it will hit that, one of that Mercury that we have in this example. Sorry for my tongue here, bit of a tongue twister there. But those of you who have it even closer, maybe 13, 14, 15, you're going to feel it already, that Mercury opposition, and the Sun, if you have it on later degrees in fixed signs. You're going to experience what I just spoke about Saturn in the coming year, and you're most likely going to experience it twice even as well. But let's dive in what it actually means to have or experience the transit of Mercury opposite or square Saturn. Now, Mercury is a lot about how we talk, how we communicate, the words we speak. And when Saturn is in a hard aspect to Mercury, a couple of things here in communication you need to be aware of. First and foremost, your own tongue is going to be more critical, more harder towards other people. So you can say snarky comments, maybe even criticism when it's not necessary, like these deeper, hard-cutting things to other people that might not be the best things to say. You need to be really vigilant about this, because one of the reasons why you are doing this is because Saturn, again, Mercury is the mind and what we think about as well. So there are going to be a lot of negative thoughts going on inside of you, in your mind. The world is going to seem bleaker. It's going to seem darker, more grayer, you can say. And when you see life, and when you think about life, and when your thoughts are like that in general, you're going to be saying, usually these meaner things, because a lot of our thoughts, create our feelings and emotions as well. So you're going to be not feeling super amazingly well, and you're going to say these negative things about other people as well. Now, the other side of that coin is what doesn't make it any easier is that the hardship, the criticism is going to come your way as well, because Mercury is not only with the words we speak, it's communication, it's the things we write, even online. It can be somebody writes a nasty comment. That happened to me many times during this Mercury opposite Saturn. Or maybe somebody says something in your daily communication, very deep, very hard, you're bad, you're doing this bad, or even criticizes you when it's justified. That can happen as well. It doesn't always have to be unjustified. It can be constructive criticism, but when it's usually opposition or square, it can seem very unjustified and kind of like almost too harsh, too hurtful, too mean even. It's not the easiest thing to handle and hear about yourself constantly. When Saturn is the actual transit period varies a little bit if it falls under retrograde. When it's retrograde, it can last for a longer time, but it's a little bit easier. When Saturn is, for example, not retrograde, it will last, like the more difficult time, it will last for usually a month, maybe 2 months. And if you consider that time frame, during 2 months, it's usually somebody will say something. And, with Saturn, it takes so long. When you hear it constantly, even it kind of reaffirms those thoughts and these ideas in your mind, and you start even thinking about these things. So, really need to be understanding that this is a temporary thing. First and foremost, if it's transit, if it's natal, it's a little bit harder for you, unfortunately. This kind of criticism and negative thinking, even natally, can lead to depression. In transit, it can lead to some depression as well, but usually again because shifts and changes, another transit comes in usually quickly, kind of brings you out of that kind of negative thinking, negative worldview, depression a little bit quicker. And yeah, guys, that part is definitely not one of the easiest parts, because again, negative thoughts create negative feelings, negative worldview. You start to say mean things to others. Others start to say mean things to yourself as well. So what you can do and what you control in this situation is to start seeing your thoughts and start seeing if they're getting too negative, and also your communication, because Saturn actually wants us to really be the masters of communication. So to kind of observe what you're saying, observe what you're saying to other people, what you're writing to other people, and also, like, even if they say mean things to you, critical things to you, you can use the kind of slow Saturn side and respond from a more grounded space. Although from a, let's say, from a square opposition, it's difficult to do, but you can do it. You can practice it. This is what it's all about. You can practice. Like, you see some comment your way, you could take your time before responding, go into it, and then after the emotions and the very negative feelings have subsided, then come from a grounded space and give your thoughts, give your ideas, give your communication to that person. So take your time with this. Know that it's going to be hard. Know that their thoughts are going to be more negative. You need to observe them more. Definitely, there's no way around that. Easier to fall into these harder spaces, especially if you have Sun and Mercury at the same time, very close together. Uranus there also giving those harder aspect. The more, basically, the really simple idea here is, the more you have these harder aspects kind of hammering one point in your chart, the harder it's going to be. So in my case, in this example case, also there was this constant hammering of one area of my life, Sun and Mercury. So it really affected me quite intensely. Now, we talked about the comments. Let me see if I wanted to say, yeah. So one last thing about this Mercury, I think, is you're like almost like um, thinking about the things that you say, and then sometimes these are mean things with these hard aspects, and you yourself thinking that these are like constructive criticism. It's easier to go there into that route as well. And one other thing, like when Saturn is opposite or square Mercury, it also limits the communication. So very often you either have a lot of duties and responsibilities with communication, writing, speaking, or it limits them, and you find it hard to do, and even kind of annoyed when somebody messages you, or maybe somebody writes you an email. That's a lot of what it can manifest as well. It's like someone writes you an email, you don't want to respond. It's kind of annoying, and it's a long one. There's a lot of annoying details in that email, but you're going to have to do it. Kind of Saturn is the enforcer in this case as well. It's your duty, it's your responsibility, but you don't really want to do it. Same with having to call somebody, having to say something to somebody. Saturn makes it everything a little bit annoying, and even a lot annoying. And it's like during a trine, you want to do it, Although there might be a lot of responsibilities during an opposition or a square, you don't want to do it at all, but you have to do it. And you're even while doing it, you're going to think that it's like during the activity, the mind goes like, I don't want to do it, I don't want to do it, oh it's annoying, it's bad, da, 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 da. All of this is constantly going on in your mind as well. So guys, I hope this gives some perspective on harder transits, how you can somewhat navigate these as well. Like obviously with Mercury, it's important to observe your thoughts and words and thinking. With Sun, you need to preserve your energy. You need to do things at a slower pace. You need to be aware of criticism coming your way. You need to be aware of things moving slower, much slower. This is also important. Even be okay with, things limiting you outside, whatever house that the harder aspect is coming from or what it rules. That is where the limitation or restriction is going to come from, and it's going to be harder for you to handle. Guys, Ian Altosaar, the Freedom Astrologer, out for now. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, share. Leave a comment what you think about it. Are some of these transits already happening to you? Are they coming in? How have you dealt with it? Yeah, find solace in meditation, in kind of understanding that these matters happen, and they also end. These transits end, and newer, better transits come your way. When it's your natal transits, guys, you need to figure out these matters on a more deeper level, because usually it comes from your family history, your family lineage, your parents. You need to heal these spaces, heal these hurtful moments in your life, usually. And if you want to help with that, come join me for a consultation, and we'll dig deeper with these matters as well. Thank you very much, and see you again soon in the next video.